Is it showing from your end that it's recording? Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I am recording this call, so if whether you're here live or you know a colleague or someone who wasn't able to join, um, you can send them this recording. We'll share it afterwards. Um, but I will go ahead and introduce myself. I am Madison Allen. I am the Excellent Development Awards staff lead. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. We're excited to kick off the award season with applications. And I have Jennifer Carlett, who is our executive director. She's joining us today as well. All right, well, I will be sharing my screen during this call, walking us through the application process. So first, I'm just going to show where you can find the application. Let's see. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So to access the application and instructions, you will go to the UI Nashville's website. And then you're going to come over here to awards or to events, hover over it and click on awards and scroll on down to right here where there are the three links. They're the instructions, application, and the project team spreadsheet. So first, I'll walk us through the instructions. So when you click on that link, it will show you, take you to the instructions that include the eligibility requirements and awards criteria on the first page. So right here at the top with the eligibility requirements, there are a few things that we just want to point out. So anyone can submit, whether you're a UI member, non-member. Projects must be either within Davidson County or a county that is surrounding Davidson County as well. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out. I know Middle Tennessee is large, so if you're curious about whether your project will be applicable for the county it's in, you can feel free to reach out. And something new this year is that East Tennessee projects may submit. So county or projects that are within Knox County, so in Knoxville or Hamilton County for Chattanooga, they may submit a project. Something to point out, if you are submitting a project within one of these counties, you will not receive a site visit from the judges, but so you'll be judged on your application. So that's just something even more to make some effort into making sure you have a great, outstanding application if you are submitting for one of these counties. Hopefully, we can try to figure something out to do a Zoom with you. With their judges so they can at least talk to the submitters and talk more about the project. But if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out. A big thing about projects, and if you're submitting, please make sure it is at least 85 to 100% sold or leased. So if you have a multi-use project, in the application, there's the different sectors of retail, office, residential. Make sure to provide those percentages because you must have at least those percentages to submit. If you are submitting a project that was already submitted in previous years, you can submit it one other time, but if it's been submitted once, it is not eligible. And again, just making sure everything is accurate and complete when you submit. So criteria for the awards, there are not any categories for our Excellent in Development Awards. Instead, projects are judged based on their certain standards. So the land use, the design, construction, financial success, sustainability, environmental sensitivity, and or equity. So really, your project is being judged on itself. We're not judging it, comparing it to other projects. The judges use their scorecard to really on these standards of judging your project individually. If you have more or questions about how the project's judged, feel free to reach out. All projects are eligible for the Rose Vegas East End Community Impact Award. This was established 2 years ago, honoring the founding executive director for UI Nashville. So it's projects that engage community members or model a public-private partnership. So that will be taken into consideration if your project is submitted. All right, so jumping down here to the application process. First, main thing, read the instructions, read the application. You will fill out the application form PDF. We ask that you fill it out and not send us a one-off document, like a Word document. We really do ask that you submit the PDF and have all your materials included at one time when you submit. So this provides the guidelines of how you need to name your file. So you will, when you put everything in a folder, have the folder named your project. So that way it helps us, we know, okay, this is, for instance, last year we had 1021 at 5 Point submit, and that would be the name of the folder. And then it includes all the different materials included. Once you submit, you will then pay the application fee that is included on the application document. There's a QR code that you can go to pay. You must have submitted payment for your project to be considered. And finally, the deadline for submission is Friday, January 31st. And so we will not consider any projects that are submitted after that. So please, please, please make sure you have your project in by that time. So kind of going more on the application process for instructions, here are examples of how you will need to list everything. Please make sure everything is referred to how you want the project named. So if your project was, for instance, like if you're Walmart, submit it as how you would want it to be Walmart. Don't give any lingos or nicknames because what you put on your application and within the form is how your project will be written on all materials for it. So, and something to note here too for photography, for your photos, make sure your photos fit within these standards, because if not, we'll have to ask you to resubmit photos that fit this criteria. We also do not do any photo creds, so if your project photos have that, it won't be labeled on them. All right, and then I will jump back to this next steps information after walking through the application, but I'm going to pause here. Does anyone have any questions at all about the instructions?
Madison, do you see that there's a question in the chat?
Oh.
Once a multi-phase project is completed and eligible, can the project and its entirety be submitted even if previous phases have won an Excellence in Development Award? Now, this is very interesting because I don't think this has come up before. I think if it was part of the entire multi-phase, then yes, that makes sense to me that you could submit it even if a previous component of it had won an award. That makes sense to me because it's part of a new, larger project.
Mm-hmm.
That sound right, Madison?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Hey Clay.
Hey, morning. Thank you guys for putting this on. Question for you on the project images. When we're submitting those, is the thought that like you could only submit kind of one image in each of those, or could I submit like, an image that's got five or six pictures on it?
That is a great question. We asked that the image has the one photo per image. Is that what you're asking? Kind of like if you had an image that had multiple showings of what the project is in one image?
Yeah, yeah. So like, in your number B, if I were to do project name interior one, and then
Mm-hmm.
when you guys open that up, there's like five pictures on that page. That's a
Mm-hmm.
no-no.
Um, I'm going to say yes, you can't do that because when our graphic designer puts everything together in the materials, it will be really small, all those images when showcasing. So if you're able to have those images like one off of what that space, try to do that because it won't show as well on the materials.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. All right. I'm gonna jump then over to the application. We'll come back to this document at the end to go over next steps. Um, but so back on this page, so through the steps, you just read over the instructions, you know the things that you'll need to submit. So then this is the document that where you will put all your information. It is a writable PDF, so we ask that you download it and put all your information here. Again, can't emphasize enough that just make sure all the spelling is correct, grammar for the project name, because this is what will be used in all our marketing materials. And if we do have questions about it, we'll reach out, but we really hold it to you that you put in the information that you want to be visible and seen to the public. Um, so project information, I like to say this is the elevator pitch of your project. Make sure you include any developers or partners part of the project, the size, characteristics, location, use, cells, any planning aspect of it would go into this information. It is that overview highlight of your project. Then you'll select the category, the cost, if it's over a $30 million project or less than, and then whether it is a private sector or public nonprofit development. So then project merit. This is the description of why should your project be considered. So thinking back on those instructions and the awards criteria and those standards that your project will be judged based on, this section allows you to explain why your project stands out. Why should it be considered for an award? Um, and again, if you have questions about this one while you're filling out the application, feel free to reach out because I like to think of this section as like the creative aspect or where you really get to just be innovative and why you want your project to win, why it should be considered. All right. Next is the status of project. So back when we were on the instructions talking about how for the eligibility requirements and how your project must be 85 to 100% sold or leased, this is where you're going to add in that information. So you'll put the percentage complete of the entire project. If you do have commercial space as part of your project, put in the percentage of the sold lease, and you can emphasize whether it's retail or office or both. Same with residential or any other space. And then if you have any additional phases of this project that are going to be planned, you can select. So for instance, if you are having a multi-development project and you are submitting only the residential part of the project that's fully complete, but it is part of a bigger scale project, you can select yes, and you can add that information over here if you want, or if there are any other uses or information you want us to know about the project status, please fill it out here. This will be important for the judges to know how much really is the project developed wise. And also, too, something to note is if your project does not have these aspects, you can just put NA for those sections. All right, next is the market acceptance, financial viability. This is where any facts you have about the financial aspect of your project will be listed here. All this information that you list financially about your project will only be seen by Jennifer, myself, and our judges. No one else will see this information of your application and the financial aspects of your project. So we do ask that you be thorough and honest about the confidential aspects of your project financially. And then under the site statistics, this again can kind of go along with the project status. So for the square footage complete, you'll just provide all the information square footage wise on your project. If it's part of a multi-phase development, you can put in how much of that square footage is built out of the entire project. I'm also going to give an example. So, for instance, last year, Amazon submitted up its project, and it submitted only Amazon. It didn't. The project submitter did not include it as part of Nashville Yards. So when they came to this section, they just submitted the information for the Amazon Tower. If they were wanting to submit it as part of the larger Nashville Yards project, they could have, and they could have included that information, but they chose not to, and that's fine. They just submitted Amazon as itself with its own information, which is allowed. So if you want to submit it, your project, as part of its build out phases, you can, you're welcome to. If you don't want to, that's totally fine as well. And then Jennifer has an example as well, too, from a previous project. Will you mind giving that example?
Sure. So, Madison and I were talking about how a few years ago we had a project come in, and the project itself was the office component of a much larger development that included multifamily, it included office, I think it had some venue space in it. And it got a little confusing for the judges, which is why we want you guys to think about this on the front end, because the applicant truly wanted the judges to only look at the office component. And yet they kept bringing up how it was a phase in something much bigger. And I think for the judges, they were thinking, well, maybe these guys should come back later when the entire project is completed. Or when the applicant was referring to some previous work, the judges were like, well, am I judging that or am I not judging that? And so we really encourage you all to think about what makes your narrative as cut and dry and clean and coherent for the judges. I would argue that what Amazon did, or the Southwest Value Partners did in just putting up Amazon's tower, they kept the focus on that, and the judges saw it and understood it as its own project, and they granted an award based on that. They might have still done that if it had been the entire Nashville Yards thing, but they were very focused, and Southwest Value Partners kept the focus there. Meanwhile, that previous example, I think it got kind of murky for the judges and it was a little confusing for them. So think ahead of time about, am I trying to talk to the judges about this entire development, or am I just focused on one component part of it? I know that that's a kind of a strange concept to think about, but you're really thinking about how you best promote your development. Are there any questions on that in particular? And if you think about a question about it later, and specifically if you think about a question of it related to your development and you want to reach out to Madison or to me, we're happy to visit with you about it. It's just, it was disappointing to us as staff because we don't weigh in. The judges run with this. We don't weigh in. And it was kind of frustrating when we could see that this project was good in and of itself, but it was kind of confusing to the judges. And so we want you guys to put your best foot forward. So if you're thinking about your project submission and you want to visit with Madison and I a bit more about it, we're happy to talk about it based on our previous experience.
Thanks, Jennifer. All right. So then jumping to page 4. So land uses. This is the straightforward question of what was the purpose of the land before the development? And if it did have a purpose, you can list that out. And then for your completed project in this next bubble, you'll include what the land uses is for your project. So that continues the application part of it, and then of the actual project. And so then we'll jump down here to the development team and firm names. So down here, we have the submitter and primary contact. So these can be different. So for instance, let's say you are the person who is filling out this entire application and you're the actual person who is packaging this up and sending it to Casey to be considered. However, you don't want to be the person who gets all the emails and contact information about your project. So if you have someone else in mind who will be your liaison for your application, that would then be your primary contact. If you're the same, if you want to be the primary contact for it and you're the submitter, just put both information here. But if that needs to be different, please distinguish that. Who would be the person as the primary contact, because the primary contact is the person who we are going to be emailing if we have questions about your application. When it comes to your tour, we are the person, we'll be contacting them, your project interviews. All of this will be going to the primary contact. So make sure whoever you put for that, and they're aware too. Please let them know if you are putting someone else different, let them know that you are listing them as the primary contact and that they will be hearing from us. Please list the project website as well if the project does have one, because this will be helpful if the judges want to browse around on the website and see more of the project. And then you will just sign and date the application. And then lastly, down here on the last page, this is a support part of the application for you, the checklist, so you can walk through and make sure that you have included everything for your application. It includes the naming convention for your files, how you can name them. And then down here is the application fee, so you can scan the QR code to pay. You can also call customer service and submit payment that way as well. But I'm going to pause here. Does anyone have any questions about the application, whether it's the project part or the project team or payment, anything like that? Any questions? No? All right. So after you have completed your application, you'll then see that you will need to fill out this spreadsheet of development team members. So to access that, you'll go back to the awards page on UI Nashville's website, and you'll click this project team spreadsheet. So I'm going to stop sharing and make sure you can get this. So here is the spreadsheet that you will fill out for your project team. So you'll add the developer. If the owner's different from the developer, add that information. And then your architect, contractors, landscape architects, engineers, finance people, any law firms, or the signature wayfinders. Anyone who is a part of your project, please list them. Even if you are like, they only helped with this one aspect of the project, still list them, because we will include everyone who is a part of the project on our program, and then also we will be reaching out to them, letting them know about the award ceremony, and any information too that we want to address the whole project as a whole. So we just encourage you to submit their information, and please do try to include their firm, email, address, and phone information as well. And if there are multiple team members as a part of, for instance, if you had multiple architects working on this project, you can add multiple people, you can add multiple firms, you can just add them down here. And again, please make sure spelling and grammar is correct, because how you have it written is how it will be seen to the public. So please just make sure that is all accurate. But any questions about the spreadsheet? Nope. All right. I'm going to go back to the home page. All right. So once you have filled out your application, you filled out your project team spreadsheet, and you've read over the instructions, I'm going to come back to the instructions down here to next steps. So once you have submitted your project to Casey Prater, she is one of the UI Nashville staff members who helps with the awards, and her contact information is listed on our awards page underneath those links. So you will submit your folder application to her. She will respond back to you to let you know, hey, we've got it. Because sometimes we've seen people submit like folder links and the links won't work. So if we have trouble accessing it, Casey or I will let you know, but we'll respond to you to let you know we have received your application. So then after the deadline, January 31st, Jennifer and I will meet, we'll review all the applications, and if we have any questions about your project, we will reach out to you. If we do have any questions, if a certain aspect of your submission, we'll let you know, but we'll give you the okay if your project is fully submitted and it looks good. In February, you'll get an email from me saying, hey, we got your application, it looks great, thank you for submitting, here are the next steps. So the next thing will be reaching out to you about a site visit, which will be the week of March 17th. So we'll reach out to you to schedule your site visit. There will also be another webinar similar to this about how to make the most of your project site visit, because that in itself, it's quick. The judges are only here for 2 days. They're touring a lot of projects. We want to help you make sure you make the most of their visit to your project. And so then after the site visits, we will then conduct project interviews. So if you've attended the award ceremony in the past, you'll know that our way of announcing winners is through showcasing these videos of judges' interviews, but also your project interview. So we will contact the primary contact listed in the submission about those interviews, which will happen the following week, so the week of March 25th through the 27th, when project interviews will be taking place. So we would contact you about more information there. We ask that the person who will be doing the interview for your project is knowledgeable in the project. Usually it's someone who was very hands-on in the development and is also okay being with the spokesperson for your project and being showcased at the awards. And then also we will be contacting the submitter, primary contact, and all subs listed about awards sponsorship opportunities. Award sponsorship is currently open, so if your firm is interested in being an award sponsor, contact me. We would love to have you as a sponsor. This is a great way to be showcased at the awards and throughout the entire process. The Excellent Development Awards is our largest annual event here at UI Nashville, so it does provide great exposure and lots of great benefits as well. So you can find our sponsorship packet on that awards homepage, and also too, I can provide you with any information. Happy to chat further about it. And then lastly, winners are announced at the Excellent Development Awards ceremony on April 30th. That will be at the Omni Nashville Hotel in the evening time from 5:30 to 9. That will be where everyone gets to gather and celebrate the winners. And also too, all winners are announced then. If you are a winner, you do not find out ahead of time. Everyone is informed at the ceremony. So that is really it. I'm going to pause there and see if anyone has any questions about all of this, any of the next steps as well.
Nope. Good job, Madison.
Alrighty. Well, if you think of a question after the end of this call, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to help answer any questions as you're filling out your application. And thank you for joining this call. Thank you for considering submitting an awards project. But it's an exciting time. This is a great, fun process. So feel free to reach out, and thank you so much. And this recording will be sent around afterwards. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. See you.